Good morning, YouTube. We're playing with dice today. Actually, we're not exactly playing with dice. We are doing my yearly anniversary project. So every year, me and my wife take a trip, and again this year we went to fabulous Las Vegas and picked up these little dice at any gift shop. If you go to Las Vegas, you'll see these basically everywhere. So, last year, actually I already forgot what we did last year. We went to Las Vegas, but I forgot what I did from our commemorative project. But this year's commemorative project is dice. That's what we're doing. I'll eventually remember what I did last year. So basically going to put this on top of each other, attach it, put a wood blank, not a wood blank, but an epoxy blank on the bottom of this little cup, and get that attached. We're going to float that in resin, put that on the lathe, and then we're going to spin it down and make a little commemorative desk toy. It's not really a desk toy, it's more of like a desk item, I guess. But anyway, this is actually the third time I've done this commentary, because great thing about this channel is a lack of professionalism, and I haven't watched this video. This is actually the third time I'm watching it, but I get on these tangents and then I'm just all over the place. But long story short, resin cup, 4.5 hours in the pressure pot using East Coast resin. Pretty good casting. There is a little bit of yellowing where you can see that on there, which kind of had me concerned just a little bit, but overall really happy the way it casted. It's right in the middle, gives you enough space to work with on the lathe, makes it look really good. So we're going to get that attached, put that in the chuck, and then we're going to work this down. So I think the reason why there was a little bit of yellowing in there is because, so if you leave epoxy out, I guess, long enough, the bottom portion of the epoxy for some reason doesn't set up the same way as like the first top half, and then you'll just end up having a little bit of yellowing from my experience. So I've used the resin long enough to where I'm kind of expecting that a little bit, especially if there's any like significant like temperature changes at all. But anyway, got this in the chuck, and every time I use these resin cups, the plastic kind of explodes on the lathe the second that I start working the material down, and you can see there all these small little jagged little pieces. I always wear gloves when I do these projects, but when it's spinning in the lathe like that, it's just slapping your hand over and over again. And here I am taking a dull box cutter, trying to go ahead and I think I cut myself on that one accidentally, and I'm kind of just upset about it. So here I am trying to work it down, but eventually I just end up giving up and going, okay, it's just not worth it. And what I should have done, since it was so early in the project, was take it out of the chuck, try to take off as much material, and then reset it in the chuck. The reason why I don't like to take things out of the chuck once I've kind of started is because it doesn't center the same way, so it kind of like throws things off. But it was too early in the project. I could have done that and got away with it. But here we are getting pretty good material off, and I've done enough of these little desk projects to where I know, pretty much what to do at this point. So get that superficial layer off, work down the material to a good size that you like, and then once you do that, remove the tailstock and then come back and start working the little dome piece of it, just making everything nice and smooth. And there's some footage that I've now noticed after doing this commentary 3 times that isn't in the video, but it's it is what it is. Sometimes you do these projects and things just don't go your way, especially in the editing portion of it. If you watch my channel for any amount of time, my editing skills aren't exactly the best. But here we are, just getting everything shaved down. I've pretty much got this into a nice shape that I like, and now we're just getting a feel for the resin to see how smooth it is, just coming back and forth, making those little gentle strokes, and just getting everything set up nice and easy. So here we are, boom, got that done. So once that was all set up, now we're just going to do my favorite part, which is sanding. Going to go from 340 all the way up to 1500, and then we're going to come back and hit it with the micro mesh pads. And there is going to be a little bit of an oopsie a little bit later, so we're going to have to actually sand this twice, which is actually a good thing, because by this point in the video right here where I'm doing the micro mesh, this is sanding number 1, and I didn't have, there's still a little bit of yellowing like I talked about, but I went back and sanded it for a second time, and it came out a lot clearer. So by this time, I haven't screwed up the project yet, and now I'm just taking that wood polish, getting everything shined up really well. Still in the chuck at the same position that we started, and now just giving that a good wipe down. I'm going to slow it down here just a little bit. So by this point, I've, usually when I slow the video down like this is usually toward the end. We're actually just in the middle of the project at this point. So getting it polished down, it looks really smooth, glass type finish, a little bit of yellowing. Like you might not be able to see it at home if you don't have any experience with epoxy, but I can tell there's a little bit of yellowing, which I didn't like. But overall, by this point, I was happy. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, and going that extra mile kind of came back to bite me in the butt. So epoxy set up really well. You can see the Las Vegas dice looks really good, right? Wrong. So now that the project's done, I have to take it out of the actual mold itself. And the problem is I'm using like a diamond shape parting tool, which hits the edges of the actual bottom. So I don't slow the camera down, unfortunately, but you can see my hand kind of like flinching a little bit, and I'm having to come back and just rework it. There's a little bit of chip out on the bottom. So basically by this time, instead of just having a nice part where I just detach it, I've kind of fucked it up. So I had to come back with the square carbide tool, take off more material on the bottom to actually fix that part of it. And then I'm going to come back and just take it out with a not a chainsaw, just a hand saw. So I fixed the chip out at this point. It's set up pretty good. And now I'm just going to take my small little hand saw and take it off the main piece that's attached to the chuck. And this part didn't take any steps at all or any issues right here. So I fixed my mistake. And now I thought, hey, let's make a little commemorative stand that goes with it. So I had a piece of poplar wood that I just had left over, which was okay. And then I'm going to attach it to this. And I had intended to do this whole thing where I like kind of just wrote on the bottom like 2022 anniversary, you know, but didn't get to that part because I done screwed it up. So I guess I lost the footage where I attach it. I attach it, you know, with 15-minute epoxy, but I take it to the sander to sand it down to make it nice and round. But what I ended up doing when I was sanding it down was, obviously there you could see where the smudges where the belt sander hit the epoxy and then totally fucked up the entire aesthetic of it. So I don't know where that footage went. Long story short, I attached it and then ended up taking it to the sander, and the sander hit the epoxy scratched it, so we had to come back and resand it all over again, 340 all the way up to 1500, and then hit it with a micro mesh. So that ended up being a really good thing, because the second sanding I think added a little something to it, and it made it a lot more clearer. So it was one of those things where it was a mistake, but it was still, you know, really a good thing for it. But you're about to see even more problems as I try to detach this from the actual portion itself. So here we go again after the second sanding. Came back, turned on the lathe, give it a good polish. Same thing as we did the last time. So this anniversary project was a little bit more difficult this year. But hey, just like marriage, not everything goes your way, but you just work through it and get the problems figured out. So giving this a good polish, and then, you know, I'm thinking, hey, we're done, right? We're done. Because it's pretty much done at this point. And then we're going to slow it down. And then you can see, comparatively from, you know, the first time that we did it to this, you can see the bobble. Because the bobble is there, because I hate resetting things, and that'll happen. Eventually, I'm going to turn off the lathe. Okay, boom. It looks a lot clearer in this one. So, sanding does help. Sanding is awful. Sanding sucks. But it does make your epoxy a lot clearer. Really looking good. So, comparatively from the last time, this one actually looks really good. So, this part was done. And now the project's kind of done. But I'm going to fuck this up again. So here I am using this parting tool, and it's just basically, yeah, you saw my hand chip. It chipped out, it detached. So at this point, I'm just like, I need this project to be over with. I have already ordered a better parting tool, so that's a good thing. So you can see all the base is pretty much gone now. So this was all for naught. So I was like, screw it. Just get the project done. It's done. Taking the hand saw, polish it up a little bit. I took it over to the sander again, and I'm like, okay, screw it. Here's the final project. Boom. Finished. So hope you guys liked it. Hopefully me and my wife go someplace different this year, but hopefully we're on our anniversary trip while you guys watch this. So hope you liked the video. A lot of mistakes, but we worked through them. It looks better than it did when we started. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.